Orcs are my favorite race in Warcraft III, and Trolls my favorite Warcraft race of all time, so I was sad to find that several of the levels in this campaign are devoid of any Easter eggs. There doesn't even seem to be a reason for it. Take this random empty grove in Spirits of Ashenvale, for example. Why doesn't it have anything in it? The whole objective on this level is to cut down the forest for lumber, so why aren't there some random pockets of creeps with items to be found hiding behind the trees? I think Blizzard missed some golden opportunities in these levels. Anyway, I'm just going to skip the Long March, the Spirits of Ashenvale, and Where Wyverns Dare, since none of them have anything worth noting in them. Unfortunately, the first Orc level doesn't have any truly hard-to-find secrets. If you just make sure to look in every nook and cranny of the level, though, you can find a lot of creeps that drop items. In fact, I counted 11 items you can find on this map. The only area you might miss if you're careful is the area south of where you meet Cairn. Because of the urgency of the cutscene,
my village is in danger.
I always just followed Cairn without exploring further. But there are a couple of encounters that yield useful loot. A few centaurs gathered around a health stone, and this massive Murloc village where you'll get a potion of mana and a periapt of vitality. There aren't any remotely secretive areas or items to be found on this map besides a lousy potion and a crate. However, there is a pretty funny trigger that I found out about the hard way when I was playing this campaign once. If you kill one of Grom's units or destroy one of his buildings, he'll ignore it. But if you keep destroying his troops or buildings, raise his stronghold, or kill Grom himself, the entire Warsong clan will actively invade your base and slaughter you. I thought this was a pretty funny Easter egg, and I'm glad Blizzard added it. There were too many times in the human campaign when Arthas could just massacre villagers and no one would lift a finger. But this time, the consequences for being a jerk in-game are completely realistic, especially given Grom's vicious personality. Although this map has an element of urgency to it, there's still a couple of secrets to be found, in the form of mushroom fairy rings. If Grom walks into them, he'll be awarded with items. The first fairy ring can be accessed by demolishing these trees by the satyrs on your way to the Chaos Well, and it'll give Grom some boots of Quel'Thalas +6, perfect for him as he's an agility-based blade master. The other one is a bit harder to get to. You have to push your way through the Shadowleaf Night Elves village in order to reach it. Grom's Windwalk ability comes in handy in this case. This one's supposed to give you a pendant of mana, something that's pretty useful against the ensuing battle with Cenarius, except there's one bug. The item spawns in the other fairy ring. That means you have to go all the way back up and around through the Waygate to retrieve it. Sorry. Here we find the first dungeon level in Reign of Chaos. You'd expect a dungeon map with all its corridors and pathways to hold lots of secrets, right? Well, yeah, there actually are quite a few in this one. Thrall can find one pretty early on in his part of the Stone Talon Caverns. After killing these fallen priests, destroy this gate here. It's a decently hidden one since all these other gates look similar but can't be targeted. A catwalk by this shallow lava will lead you to a sludge monstrosity who'll drop a ring of regeneration. Another secret can be found in the prison cell area. The first contains a kobold you can kill, and the second has some troll warriors who you can rescue to join you, but the third one seems empty except for a bunch of fire. Knock down the door, however, and a salamander will rise from the flames, dropping a Sobi mask upon death. On Cairn's part of the cave, go south past these kobolds. You'll find a hungry lizard devouring the mushrooms in this part of the cave. It takes a while, but if you wait and watch, the lizard will eat and eat and eat, swelling in size with each mushroom eaten. Eventually, the lizard eats too much and explodes. By that time, it's eaten a path to this lion horn of Stormwind. How a human artifact like this got behind a bunch of mushrooms in a cavern on the side of the world opposite Stormwind, I'll never know. But the devotion aura is handy. The next Easter egg is another great moment of misdirection for Blizzard. It's easiest, of course, to splatter all of the Quillboars in the Spike Pit using the
trap mechanism.
However, if you fight them yourself, one of the Razormane chieftains will drop a necklace of spell immunity, which is super valuable for Thrall in the last level against the demons. Also, break any crates you find. A whopping 18 of them contain something. 2 of them are full of rats, but the others have all kinds of scrolls and potions in them. Speaking of triggers, there's a function, probably to prevent traps from being sprung too early or harmlessly, to kill Thrall's spirit wolves if they enter certain areas. These areas are the sheep ambushed by the sorceresses and the animated statue area. As long as the respective encounter bosses, the sorceresses and the siege golem, are alive, Thrall's wolves can't go any farther. Actually, Thrall isn't even playable when Cairn reaches the golem hallway, so maybe there was a different way things worked in an earlier version of this map. The last secret consists of some unused triggers in the map. Originally, along with the spike traps in this cave, there was a lightning trap here in the room with the fallen priests and this flaming fountain thingy. In their place was apparently some power generators, like these by the Skeleton Lord, and an unknown item, probably a pendant of mana or energy, judging by the region's name, Pendant Trap. If Thrall picked it up, he got struck by lightning and took 100 damage. The Death Revenant over here was tied to this trigger as well. If it was killed, the power generators were destroyed and the trap was disabled. The second unused function powered a couple of teleporters in this junction where Cairn and Thrall meet at the end. There are 2 pairs of regions that transport anyone who entered... Actually, you know what? Why don't I just enable the triggers and we'll see for ourselves what happens. Huh. That's weird. I guess before that was the way to get from this room into this one. Apparently the devs decided a simple destructible gate was sufficient enough to bridge the gap. The last trigger is a funny one. The creators made it so that if Thrall cast Earthquake, the screen would shake. This makes sense given the location of this scenario. It seems that casting an earthquake while inside a cavern would be pretty dangerous. I actually really like this. Look how cool it looks for effect. I don't know why they took it out. At any rate, I'm glad the map makers of this level kept these triggers on here rather than just deleting them without a trace. It's really fun to take a glimpse into their minds as they designed this dungeon. Lastly, has anyone wondered why Ajun talks through Thrall?
I am Ajun, ancient princess of the Moon Children.
I just remembered how weird I thought that was when I played this as a kid, but looking at the map file, it doesn't seem to be a mistake. I don't know what other unit could have represented Ajun's voice, but out of all the choices, Thrall is definitely the most confusing. There are no real secrets on the By Demons Be Driven map itself, but I just have to geek out about the behind-the-scenes stuff in this map file's triggers. Whoever made this map left a couple of comments that offer a fascinating look into Warcraft III's creation process. Take this trigger for instance. A comment on it says, "Waiting on triggers that will allow me to place an item in a specific slot on a hero." Were the developers still writing triggers while this campaign was being designed, terrained, and programmed? I also seem to remember the Reign of Chaos world editor was really underdeveloped compared to the Frozen Throne one, so who knows? Under a folder in the trigger editor called Unused, this other trigger and comment can be found. This was the handy-dandy magic box item unit bonus randomizer that never found a place in the game. Hopefully someone will stumble across this and resurrect it for a casino area on one of their RPG maps. One can only hope. The trigger was basically a function that gave you something random out of a magic vault when you destroyed it. The magic vault could include a Shadow Wolf, a stone token, a Murloc Nightcrawler, a Talisman of Evasion, a Flying Sheep, a Health Stone, a Captain, Khadgar's Pipe of Insight, a Dire Frostwolf, some Boots of Quel'Thalas +6, a Kobold Geomancer, a Belt of Giant Strength +6, a Goblin Shredder, a Robe of the Magi +6, an Ogre Lord, Khadgar's Gem of Hell, a Null Overseer, some Boots of Speed, another Magic Vault, or a Mana Stone. For someone so interested in behind-the-scenes stuff as me, I felt like an archaeologist finding an ancient artifact as I read this. Who wrote this all those years ago? Where had they tried implementing this magic vault, and at what point had they given up? More importantly, though, these comments actually make me wonder if any of the previous campaigns had any hidden comments in the triggers too. I think I'll go through them all once more before I publish my addendum video of all the ones I missed, just in case I find anything interesting. Thus ends another Warcraft Easter egg video. I hope you're enjoying watching these videos as much as I'm enjoying making them. Either way, thanks so much for supporting this project. You can support it further by sharing it with your friends who like Warcraft and clicking the like button. See you next time, friends!